The biggest mistake you're making in order to play college soccer. I'm a college soccer guy and I help you play college soccer. Okay, let's get into it. So, people are like, well, it's your video that's the biggest issue. Oh, no, it's not your video. It's the ability to stay focused during this tremendously stressful process. Nope, that's also not it. The biggest thing is your ability to stay organized. If you don't stay organized, you do not have a chance of getting recruited in the same way you would, of course, if you stayed organized. The reason is so many coaches are not following up with you, are not responding to you, and if you don't know who it is that's responding and not responding, you're going to lose track, and then you're going to have a way less likelihood of getting recruited. So how is it that you're going to stay organized throughout this whole process? So there's a couple tools that I give my students and I want to share with you, so that way you can stay organized throughout this whole thing. So first of all, you think you're using NCSA or Scouting Zone, which I'm sure is probably what you are using, and that's okay. Okay, it's not good, it's not necessarily bad, but you can have a platform. Okay, my job is to multiply what that is doing. I'm not here to replace it. I had an NCSA profile going up, didn't help me, but let's say you've got an NCSA profile. First of all, you need to know the college coaches are not going to be recruiting you, traditionally speaking, through those sites. Are you going to get some emails from generic camps? Are you going to hear about a school you never heard of? Sure, so having a profile is fine. But if you really want to get recruited to play college soccer, you have to be way more proactive. When you're using those sites, you just don't want to depend on them. And that's really what I'm here to tell you. That's the biggest message, that you can use them, but do not depend on them. You must be proactive yourself. And I can tell you right now, if you're not getting responses, it's because you're sending messages from those platforms. College coaches do not like getting emails from those platforms. Okay, so that means where and how are we going to get organized? We need to get organized with our Gmail account. So what you're going to do, I'm going to get very detailed here and I'm going to show some images. You are going to open up your Gmail. And then to the left-hand side, you're going to see an opportunity for something called a label. Now, if you don't have Gmail, say you have iCloud or whatever, the same concept applies. You are going to add a label to every single school that emails you. So let's say UConn emails you. You're going to go into your Gmail. You're going to click Add Label. After clicking Add Label, you're going to then type in the name of the school. Now, every time you send an email, you're going to make a folder. Now, this is the part that is really nuanced and how things get really specific and how basically my students stay really organized and get way more responses than everybody else, is after you have made the name, you are then going to label it with a star if you got a genuine response. So let's say you send out an email to UConn. You've made a folder now. Now, they respond to you, but it's generic. Okay, all you're going to do is you're going to move that generic email into the folder in Gmail and do nothing else. But let's say they respond and they go, we really liked your video. We'd like to learn more about you. Would you please send us your schedule? That means it's genuine, okay? And that's really good. That's what you want it to be. Genuine is the money. That's the yay, yay, happy, happy. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go into that same label. You're going to change it and you're going to put a star by it, because that means they showed genuine interest. The reason that's so important is if you're starting the recruiting process correctly, which would be like your sophomore summer going into your junior year at the very latest, even if you're doing a junior year, the same applies. You need to be constantly sending that team updated highlight videos all the time. And you're not going to remember if you email all these schools which of those showed genuine interest and didn't unless you mark it. And the NCSA profiles and the scouting zones, they don't do any of this stuff. So that's because they're not as nuanced as I am, which is why my students have such great results. So what you're then going to do is you're going to put a star by the name of the folder. Now, let's say they leave their cell phone number. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put a star because they said a genuine message. Then they also left their cell phone number. You're going to put the letter lowercase t on the left-hand side of the star. The reason you're going to do that is because this is telling you that you also texted them. So you need to send them a text message. In a separate video, I'll go into how to text them. So now you've gone, boom, you're going to text them a message. And you know that you sent them a text because guess what? In your iPhone, you cannot make folders like you can in Gmail. So you're not going to remember. So we're going to keep it all in track in your Gmail folder. Okay, then let's say they leave their Instagram. Okay, some of them will and some of them will not. You are then going to put a lowercase I on the left-hand side of that T. So now if it's a perfect scenario, let's say you got a flush like in cards, and you got the perfect solution. You got the best hand. UConn, you email UConn, you make a folder for them because you emailed them. So now we know you emailed them. That way you'll keep track of who you emailed. Then they respond. It was generic. Okay, nothing you can do, just move it into the folder. Oh, but this time, the next time, say we email UConn, it's genuine. Now you're going to put a star by the name of UConn. Then they left their cell phone number. So that means you're going to text them. And they left their Instagram, which means now you're going to follow them. And maybe they left their Twitter. For it now, just group I, lowercase I for Instagram as all social media. But Instagram is really the most important, so don't get too boggled by Twitter for right now. If you want, you could put a TW for Twitter, which I like that idea for my students as well. So now you've got a very efficient way of staying organized every time you send out and receive an email. This also cues us in the follow-up process who we need to email again. So let's say, for example, with UConn, you've emailed them and they did not respond to you with a genuine message. They responded to you with a generic message, okay, which is probably the case. What you're then going to do is you're going to say, okay, that was really generic. Nothing I can do about this. You're still going to have a folder for it. So you know in 3 months' time, if you still haven't heard from them, even after having maybe sent another message, or maybe you forgot about them. You haven't sent them a message in a while. You've covered all the other ones that have sent you genuine interest. Now you're going to UConn and you're like, shoot, I haven't heard from them in ages. And I forgot that I emailed them, right? Because you would have done it 6 months ago, maybe at this point. You can go back through your Gmail because on the left-hand side, you're going to have star, 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 and you're going to have text, and you're going to have a bunch of other indicators telling you where each one stands. Same thing with UConn. You're going to say, look, I have no star, I have no text, I have no Instagram. So what do I do here? And that's how you know you need to follow up with them. And then at that point, we use a different template for those situations. We'll get into that another time. So that's step 1 of staying organized. Okay, step 2 of staying organized. When they send you a message, especially if it's going into the summertime, but it's pretty much true for all, they're going to send you their ID camp schedule. So you can spend all the time in the world looking up every single school's ID camp and trying to make a note of it, which is not a terrible idea. I have a faster system than that. But for this subject of organization, the other thing you're going to do is you are going to make a note every single time they leave their college ID camp dates to you, because that will save you a lot of time. You won't have to go look up UConn. UConn will just have told you when their ID camp is. And plus, that's a school you're interested in. You're not going to look up every single ID camp in the country. That's insane. Now, I do have a website separate that does allow you to look up every school's camps by state, which is part of working with me. But in saying that, when you're get an email and the email says like, thank you so much for your email, right? It's a generic email maybe. Oh, thank you so much for your email. You've put it in the folder, but then you look down and go, oh, there's the date. So you're going to go put that in what we call the ID Camp month section of your document. This is the College Soccer Guide program. This is what's in the College Soccer Guide program. You're going to put it in the ID Camp months section, okay? By putting it in the months section, you and I both know, okay, this is when UConn are having their ID camp. Now, if it was a genuine invitation, you're going to write next to the camp dates in the ID camp month section, genuine invite. If it was a generic invite, you're going to put nothing. So now you know this school did not send me a genuine invitation, but I do know their camp dates in case I decide to go. Because remember, just because they don't invite you genuinely doesn't mean you shouldn't go. Maybe you should still go, even if they don't invite you genuinely. So now you've got the ability to know if they sent you a genuine message, if you texted them, if you saved their social media, and when their ID camps are, and whether or not you were invited genuinely or generically. And when you send out that mass email, which we're going to get into soon, this is what you must understand how to do. You must stay this organized. Because if you don't stay this organized, you're not going to remember who to follow up with. You're not going to remember who you need to send more video to. And once you've mastered this organization, which all of my students have, the rest of the recruiting process actually can be relatively repeatable, meaning, oh, send this type of template, which I will have drafted for you. This is the type of response I received, and this is what I need to do next. And over time, you will find that you get phenomenal results because you're staying on top of them. Here's another highlight video. Here's another every touch video. Once you make one highlight video, you don't really need another one, which you guys know at this point. But this is how you properly stay organized. I'm the College Soccer Guy. If you want more help, please click the description below or the link in the bio and give me a call, because that's really how I can help you with your nuanced situation. But this should get you started staying organized. I will talk to you all very soon. Good job.